Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the NFL podcast, and we have an in-studio guest. That's right, joined today by Rob, and me and my co-host are going to do our best to take you guys through the world of American football. If you're checking us out on YouTube, big thank you. If you're also subscribing, that's amazing. Thank you very much. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's video or audio. If you're liking what we're doing, do subscribe, share and comment, and let us know. Anyway, let's get cracking. So here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces out.
Recording in progress.
There you go, recording in progress. The lady will be super loud today because we've got a change. For you YouTube watchers, look, it's in-person podcasting, something that died many moons ago, and is now set to make a return for, I'm sure, many days until they shut the country down again. Anyway. As some of you long times, that's what they're called now, will know, NFL podcast, we have various fantasy leagues going on. Look, I'm getting real close. And the way that we do the NFL podcast week in, week out is we get a big sack, find out whoever we're playing against, bundle them in a sack and drag them onto the podcast. So for all you audio listeners, I've got my glamorous better half, Mr. Paul Williams, who holds one of the reins. And in studio, Mr. Rob Rafton. Welcome to you, Rob. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Making the journey across to Cookie Towers to talk NFL football. Seeing as you're here, I'll even let you talk about how you absolutely destroyed me in the mini league.
It wasn't total destroyal, but yeah, we both left a few points on the bench. I know I had Gronk on the bench, and you had a few others that outscored it.
No. Let's not play it down. I left the points on the bench. Yeah, it was a good idea to leave Thielen on the bench. No, that good.
How many were talking?
I think I totted up in the region of something like 70 points sitting on the bench, like 70 easy points, just cooling their heels on the bench. Versus 2 of my players had a combined score of 8.
Could be worse.
But we'll come to that shortly. Because, when you're losing one fantasy league, you're definitely losing the other one as well. Anyway. Paul, as the man that helps to steer this ship, where do you want to go first? Ladies and gentlemen, we've got stats. First week of the season where we're rocking the stats. Obviously, we like to keep things fresh, so they're not actual stats. They're a little bit different. So we've got stats from week 1. Rob needs to get his name in the book for season-long predictions. We also need to predict the upcoming games for the week. Am I forgetting anything?
I think you've hit all the points there. So usually the last couple of weeks, obviously we've done our pre-season show and then our week 1 preview show. So obviously this is week 1 roundup / week 2 preview show.
Absolutely is.
So as you just mentioned there, guest in studio, Mr. Rob Rafton. has the delight of picking his season-long Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl MVP, and league MVP. So, Mr. Rafton, where would you like me to start?
We'll go for league MVP.
Absolutely. So, if you want, I can give you the people that so far have been picked on the podcast so far. So, Andy has gone for Aaron Rodgers at Green Bay. It's not a great start. I've gone for Josh Allen at Buffalo. We continue the great start. And Stu has gone for Lamar Jackson at Baltimore. So we're all for 3.
That's okay. I'll book that trend then. I will go with, I think who I said probably last year, Patrick Mahomes. He's hopefully going to come back from, we won't mention the Super Bowl. Well,
I think it's a solid pick. I can't see a situation where he's not the favourite.
they've still got such a strong team still, and he's got so many options and routes, and
that's the thing. Obviously, we'll come to it later on when we discuss last week's games, but there was a stat that came up that. In fact, I'll leave it just on the off chance it comes up in the stats. But if it doesn't come up, I'll bring it up then. So you've gone for Patrick Mahomes to be the season-long MVP. What are you talking for the Super Bowl matchup? Who's your NFC team pick?
So for the Super Bowl matchup, I've chose this before the week's games. I was going Green Bay versus Kansas.
Interesting.
Chiefs. Even though Green Bay up at Lambeau didn't have a very good start, did they? I was watching the highlights the other day and it was like, maybe not. But it's first game of the season. They always have one bad game a season where they get absolutely tonked, and they've got it out of the way now.
Get it out of the way of the doors, don't you? Week one doesn't matter. As I will say many times over the course of this podcast, week one doesn't matter. If you're losing week one, it's basically a freebie. You give your opponent that free, point, the W, whatever you want to call it, and then you move on to week two, where you then go on to crush your opponents. It's not happening, is it?
Well, we'll see.
It's not happening.
So Rob's gone for a Packers versus Chiefs Super Bowl. Of those two, who do you reckon is going to pick up the win?
Chiefs, I think. Even though I would love Green Bay to finally get there again.
It would be nice for Mr. Rodgers to go out with another Super Bowl. Not to say that he's going to retire after the season.
At this point in time, the likelihood of it being Mr. Rodgers, if it is Green Bay.
He's not going to get benched at any point this season, is he? I mean, he got pulled from the game on Sunday. But that wasn't really a benching as much as it was more of the game was gone. There was no point in risking him for the rest of the game. So you can understand why they did it. So Green Bay versus Kansas City, we've gone for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. And do I even need to ask who you'd be picking as the Super Bowl MVP?
He's got the season MVP. He's going to get it there. It's Patrick Mahomes.
He's gone for PM to do the double.
A double.
Will it come off? If it does, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Get your money on it. Patrick Mahomes, season MVP, Super Bowl MVP, double. You get some odds on it.
I was just on Sky Bet to see what sort of odds you can get for like MVPs and stuff like that. But it's you can bet on the Super Bowl at this point in time. You can say who you think is going to be the Super Bowl winner. But that's about it at this point. You can bet on this week's games if you want to.
Excellent. Well, that covers us for the regular season bets, not bets, predictions. So it would just leave us to go on to this week's picks. But obviously, in order to do this week's picks, we need to go through last week's results first. So, of course, it was week 1. Therefore, there were 16 games in total. Every single team played. We got started with the defending Super Bowl champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, and ended with the Ravens travelling to the desert to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. So 16 points up for grabs. There were picks by myself and Andy in our position as podcast hosties, I suppose. And then our guests, we had Stu on the podcast, and Mr. Matt Moore was, we'll say there in spirit, shall we say? Yeah, we'll go with that. It was there in spirit, but he did give some picks. So, like we said, a total of 16 points up for grabs. In joint third place, with 9 out of 16 picks correct, it's the 2 guests this week, ladies and gentlemen. So Mr. Matt Moore and Mr. Stu Woodmansey get 9 of the 16 games correct. Some of the ones that let them down, obviously, they both had the Ravens to beat the Raiders. They both had the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. Everyone had the Packers. Everyone had the Falcons. Everyone had the Bills. So just the odd ones here and there, just letting them down, really, unfortunately. So they take 0 points in joint third place. In second place, with 10 out of 16 picks correct, it is Mr. Andrew Cook. Which means that starting off the season with 1 point solely in the old back skyrocket is Mr. Paul Williams with 12 out of 16 picks correct.
Wow.
The games that pushed me over the edge was that I had faith in the Desert Boys. I was the only person who picked the Raiders to get the win, and they didn't let me down. First game at home, boys. You've got to factor in that crowd. It makes a difference, and it clearly did last night. That was pretty much the only one that I had different to everybody else, and then obviously there was just the odd 50-50 picks here and there. But yeah, 12 out of 16 correct for myself. The only ones that let me down again were the Packers, the Falcons, the Bills. And I stupidly had taken the Jags to get a win in Mr. Lawrence's first game. Sadly, that did not pay off for me.
No, it did not. Something I wanted to cover early doors. Something that often happens round sort of pre-season, week 1, stuff like that, is I sometimes see a team playing and I'm like, ooh, I really like the look of this team. This is a team that I'm going to keep an eye on over the course of the season. Obviously, you've got your heavy hitters, you've got your Chiefs, you've got your Buccaneers, you've got your Packers, Saints are always in there, and obviously for me, Seahawks are always up there. But this team is a team that I think in the off-season I started getting an idea. I was like, do you know something? There's a lot going on in that area. And unfortunately, he was unavailable this evening, although he was asked to join. Mr. JF, the JFG was asked to be here because he would be loving it right now. My team to watch is the Arizona Cardinals. They looked good. JJ Watt, super good fit of that team. I was enjoying watching the Arizona Cardinals at the weekend. So just wanted to get that out early because otherwise I'll forget and then I'll kick myself afterwards. Literally.
I'll say what I sometimes say on other podcasts. If you go back listened to some of the previous podcasts. I think I may have even picked the Cardinals as my outside shot for a Super Bowl run, Super Bowl tilt this season. I did temper that with the fact that they're in a very, very, very tough division.
Yeah.
Definitely demonstrated by the fact that each team in the NFC West won on opening day. So that'll soon change. But yeah, there we go. Cardinals, one to watch. So obviously we've done the predictions from week one. So shall we hear some statty-roos from week one?
So, anybody who's listened to more than 5 minutes of an NFL podcast that we do, Yorkshire's #1 NFL podcast, I will point out. Anybody who's listened knows that we have people working behind the scenes to bring you fantastic NFL content. One of those people is our lovely stats mistress, and I got her out of the cupboard and I dusted her off. Gave her a dusting with the old feather duster. Put 50p in, turned the dial, and off she went. Straight off to that computer, tappy, getting us all the juiciest stats from week one of the 2021 NFL season. So that people don't have to listen to my voice for the next 20 minutes. I have divided up with my glamorous co-host the 16 stats. And just to be different, as it's a week one, week two kind of situation, they're not just stats, they're done in a little bit of a different format. I'll just double check. I can't actually credit anybody other than the stats mistress, so I don't want to get into trouble if at some point somebody's like, you've nicked that. The stats mistress does go to the internet to gather the information, and if anybody has provided this information, we thank you and we give you any credit due. So, 2021 Week 1 NFL stats. Number 1. Seahawk quarterback Russell Wilson got off to another hot start, throwing for 4 touchdowns and 254 yards while attempting just 23 passes, as the Seahawks opened with a road win at Indianapolis. There we go. 2. Sunday's biggest shock came out of Jacksonville as the Hurricane Ida displaced New Orleans Saints, embarrassed the Green Bay Packers, the NFC's #1 playoff seed last season, 38-3 at TIAA Bank Field. It was 16 years ago that the Saints won their opener on the road in the aftermath of destruction Hurricane Katrina left in New Orleans. I obviously, when you've got hurricane and then hurricane, you've got that thing of, that seems like just 5 minutes ago, when it was like, it's 16 years ago. Like, Jesus. Thirdly, welcome back, Dak Prescott. After 11 months off, didn't expect to see you throw in 58 passes in your return, but while the Dallas Cowboys seem just fine under centre, there's new worries at kicker after Greg Zuerlein's rough start. 4, and this one's a long one, so strap yourselves in. Welcome back, Chandler Jones. Limited to 5 games in 2020 by a bicep injury, the Arizona pass rusher returned to force. 2 fumbles while racking up a franchise record, tying 5 sacks of Tennessee Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Jones's 3 sacks in the first quarter is a record since the NFL began officially recognising the statistic in 1982. Since he was drafted in 2012, Jones is the only player in the NFL to surpass 100 sacks. He now has 102 in that span. His new teammate, J.J. Watt, has 95 and a half over the same stretch. I mean, see previous Arizona Cardinal comment. Another welcome back to Christian McCaffrey after an all-pro effort in 2019 when he led the league with 2,392 yards. From scrimmage, McCaffrey played in just 3 games in 2020, but he was back in for Sunday against the New York Jets and produced 187 combined yards. Welcome back, TJ Watt. After doing next to nothing in training camp before signing his record-breaking contract extension, the Steelers' all-pro pass rusher sacked Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen twice as Pittsburgh pulled off a surprise in Western New York. Welcome back to Jimmy Garoppolo, the San Francisco 49ers quarterback who missed 10 games in 2020, returned to the starting lineup and improved his record against new Detroit Lions quarterback Jared Goff to 4-0. And yes, it's another welcome back to a quarterback who I like this guy, and I'm liking him more and more, and he's making me like this team. Welcome back, Joe Burrows. 261 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and Joe Mixon, 150 yards from scrimmage touchdown, who both endured injury-abbreviated 2020 seasons, but started for the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday as they escaped the Minnesota Vikings in overtime. I am very much one of those people who can sort of just go, I like that guy, so I kind of like that team. And I'm really liking what the Bengals have got going on. So much so that in a different, smaller league, I may not have drafted Joe Burrows as a quarterback. Paul, save these people from my voice.
Well, in keeping with the theme of the first set of stats, we'll dive straight in with welcome back, Von Miller, who missed the entire 2020 season after injuring his ankle days before the Denver Broncos opener. He did, however, resurface on Sunday, collecting a pair of sacks in a 27-13 thumping of the New York Giants.
Now, I want to say this. I really like Von Miller.
But
when I saw him, I've seen like a couple of things over the last few days. Obviously, like seeing him at the weekend and then I saw a video today of him talking on the sidelines. And I was like, should you not have retired? It was just a bit like, do you need to be here? I should have put my Von Miller jersey on for this conversation, but anyway.
Well, if you think about it, he was the number 2 pick in the same draft that Cam was the first pick, and Cam Newton's still kicking about. So,
is he?
Oh, he'll find himself a team. Don't you worry.
Will he?
Yes. Anyway, we continue. What happened to Aaron Rodgers? Sunday's loss to the Saints when the 2020 MVP passed for just 133 yards and 2 interceptions has to be considered the worst performance of his brilliant career. For one day at least, Jordan Love, 5 for 7 and 68 yards, who made his NFL debut after Rodgers was pulled, was the Packers' best quarterback. The Texans intercepted 3 passes in 2020. They intercepted Jags rookie QB Trevor Lawrence 3 times alone on Sunday, whilst Lawrence, the top pick of the 2021 draft, lost his first NFL start. Now, this was the stat I was going to bring up earlier. So they covered it on NFL Red Zone. That is the first regular season loss that Trevor Lawrence has ever suffered in his life.
So there was a point on Red Zone where they said that it was like the first time he'd been trailing in a game in his life. I was like, what? So obviously he was so dominant through his career.
In regular, obviously, like he's lost games. He's lost in like championship games and stuff like that with Clemson. But I think it was the first time in a regular season game that he'd ever been trailing. Yep. And up until the end of the game, he'd never lost a regular season game. And I found that baffling. Also, if the Chiefs hadn't have come back to win on Sunday, that would have been the first point. That would have been the first game in Mahomes' professional career where he didn't hold a lead for at least some portion of the game. The guy's an absolute machine. We continue on with the stats. It's only one game, but who's wondering whether the Jets would have been better off keeping quarterback Sam Darnold? We got a glimpse of what the new Carolina Panthers QB could be on Sunday. His 234 passing yards before half-time marked the best half of his NFL career, as he accounted for 2 touchdowns in a 19-14 victory.
Now, you know what I was saying before about like Joe Burrows and the Bengals? Like, you know, you can get like a situation where one player on one team can make all the difference. I had very little time for Sam Darnold when he was at the Jets. It's for a start, it's the Jets. Secondly, I never thought he really lit the place on fire. But again, I really liked the look of him at the Panthers at the weekend. Speaking of Panthers, did you see that mixed reality thing that they'd done?
Yeah,
that was cool.
Really weird. It was really strange.
Did you see they had they had a panther going round the stadium? This giant panther going around the stadium. I don't know if you'd seen it.
No, I missed that one.
It's obviously like it's the real stadium, and then this giant panther's like digital, and it's jumping like on the stand and stuff, and it tore off like a flag of the Jets, jumps down onto the pitch, tears it to shreds, goes round again, and then jumps off the back of one of the stands, and it was really cool.
Wow.
It's like that's the sort of thing we should be doing. I can't imagine it was cheap, but like we've got these sort of like you can do it on your phone nowadays, mixed reality stuff. So
they'll build it into the budget. Obviously they've either got 8 or 9 home games this season, and obviously they've decided that it's something they want to trial for entertainment value and stuff like that. And it's obviously worked because they've obviously got it's probably gone viral to an extent.
Oh, absolutely.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they have it for every home game this season. It was very, very good to watch. Anyway. The NFL Network reported on Sunday that the Broncos are prepared to make a substantial offer for Aaron Rodgers, assuming he's available, during next season's off-season. Based on what we just saw from the 2020 MVP, not to mention how very well new Denver quarterback Teddy Bridgewater played on Sunday, 264 yards and 2 touchdowns passing, maybe the new Broncos GM George Patton should reconsider his decision. Just a couple more to go through. The Steelers recorded a sack in the 74th consecutive game, an NFL record. I think they covered on Red Zone that there was something about the unofficial sack record was 76 or 78. I missed the team that he said it was, so I'll have to apologise for that. But they've got obviously the official record, and up until they don't sack the quarterback, they will continue to set the record. Bit of a bummer to see quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick suffer a hip injury in his Washington debut that landed on injured reserve. I think they've not put a time scale on his return there. I think they just said it'll be at least 6 weeks, but it could be longer. And he isn't getting any younger, is he? So it's probably going to take him a little bit longer to get back from injury.
I know, like he's not everybody's favourite, but I've got tons of time for Fitzmagic. I think he's great. I saw him do an interview, pre-season interview, and the interviewer started with, "Can I just say your hair and beard is amazing, and then just launched straight into the interview. And I was like, I mean, that's how it should be done. And he was just, you could just tell, 16 years he's been doing it, and he was having a whale of a time. So it's sad. Anytime anybody gets injured, it's sad to see, even if it is Dak Prescott. But yeah, stuff like that. It's like, oh man, week 1, and yeah, you know.
It always happens. You always see at least one big name player go down with an injury in week 1 that robs him of multiple weeks of the season. It's just unfortunate. It was Fitzmagic this time. And last stat of the week. New Orleans Saints new quarterback Jameis Winston is your NFL passing touchdown leader with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 passing touchdowns, ladies and gentlemen. And what's more, 0 in the interceptions column. Now, I know you're thinking, that probably means he's throwing 5 interceptions this week and no touchdowns just to level himself off. But I think with let's just hope we've seen the back of interception machine Jameis Winston.
He ran for some yards as well, though, didn't he?
Yeah,
If you actually see the highlights of that game.
He was playing out of his skin.
He had a stormer.
Yeah, he did.
Certainly did.
Did real well. So there we go. Stats done and dusted. What you got? What's next?
Well, I think the only thing we've got left to cover really is the week 2 games and a little bit of fantasy talk. So it's just up to you what you want to end with.
Let's talk fantasy. Let's get the fantasy stuff done. It's no secret to anybody that if you're in a fantasy league, chances are you're in more than one. I know Paul's been in fantasy leagues since he was a wee nipper.
In short trousers. Yeah.
Indeed. Weirdly, something that I thought was weird anyway. Myself and Rob played each other this week gone, in the mini league, and one of us walked away victorious from that. Weirdly, in the big league, me and Rob are playing each other this week. As previously mentioned, JFG did get an invite to come on the podcast this week to make up for the podcast insult from last week, where he should have been on then. He is unavailable this evening, as he's, I believe the words are gallivanting. The other person who should be here apparently can only do one job, and that job is the Stats Mistress job. She is unable to attend as she is looking after the 4-legged fiend. So, this is our fantasy lineup as it runs across me versus Rob, Paul versus the Stats Mistress. It's week 2 though. Week 1 is gone. Can't get it back. Nothing you can do about it. I have to put that to bed. Rob will be facing very similar players on my team as he faced last week on my bench. Yeah. Paul, did you ever win last week?
Sadly, I did not. I came up against the juggernaut that is the Patrick Mahomes Travis Kelce duo.
Oh.
So that accounted for 48 of James's 101 points.
Wow.
So I feel it's only right that I should remove those points from his total.
I think it's justified.
That's fine.
If you're adjusting some points, I could think of another team that you could change some points for. Congratulations to you, Stuart Woodmansey, who I will be seeing tomorrow evening for a much, much different podcast. Definitely not football based. Congrats to Stu. and what is quite dominant team. I don't want to say, but early reports say a team to beat. Yeah.
Week 1.
It's week 1.
They always throw weird week 1s.
It's week 1. Week 1's weird.
You win nothing in week 1.
Nobody's winning in week 1. That is true. So I've had defense issues, namely dropping a defense, leaving a defense on the bench, picking up a defense, and as we know, what happens when that series of events happens, the one you drop, I imagine they did well. I couldn't bring myself to look. The one you put on the bench does really well, and the one that you put in your lineup does not great. I also had some zeros and some ones. Luckily for me, I didn't have the -1 in the lineup. So yeah, there's that. I'm going to try to avoid things like that this week, and put the right players in, if that's even a thing. Paul, what's your strategy for taking down the stats mistress?
Pray.
How many quarterbacks has she got this year? 9.
You what?
How many quarterbacks has she got this year? 9.
I can only imagine she's got a fair number. Let's have a look. What she? We totally glossed over the fact that we had the lesser spotted draw in fantasy this week.
Yes, we did. She told me that she needed Jacobs, was it? Yeah, Josh Jacobs. She needed to get 15 points to draw with Philip Walls, and she in fact got 15 points to get a draw with Philip Walls. Most unheard of, but yeah. I'm just looking at the fact that she's got Ryan Tannehill in a quarterback.
I mean, it's the... Considering that her backup on the bench is Mac Jones, she's not exactly stacked at QB.
I was just about to say, I can't actually see who her... Oh, no, it's Mac Jones. Oh, dear. I don't know. Maybe I'll offer to trade her your favourite. I'll send her the point machine, I think I called him, didn't I? Matt Ryan. With his whopping 6 points. 6 points for a quarterback.
Could be worse. He could have started Aaron Rodgers, couldn't he, Rob?
He could have done, yeah. I think I got the lowest score, was it, of the week in the big league?
I heard a rumour. I didn't want to dwell on it, but I did hear a rumour that might have been a thing. At the end of the day, if I was in a situation where I had Aaron Rodgers, there are few quarterbacks I would want to start ahead of Aaron Rodgers week in, week out. Obviously we haven't really touched on it, but I've seen that there are a lot of conspiracy theories going on. Not something the NFL are wildly known for, conspiracy theories, but there are a lot of conspiracy theories flying around about what was actually going on in the Packers game, whether it was just about the fact that Aaron Rodgers is apparently looking for a trade and apparently prepared to do whatever it takes to get that trade. Whatever. Who knows? Rob, do you fancy telling me what your sort of strategy for the weekend will be team-wise, so that I can maybe... I can't remember, but I think I've put in a request for a player.
I think my strategy this week is going to be the same as last week. Beat you.
Wow. You have him in studio and he starts throwing bombs like that.
Got to be positive. Got to
To
go for these things.
borrow a phrase to borrow a phrase from the football podcast, as you're in the room, does that mean you have to give you some points?
I hope so.
Never.
I'm freaking defense. That's where I'm struggling. Defense. I don't feel like the points are correctly calculated for defense, so you can't really get a feel for them. I can't bring myself to look at what the Browns defense did in week 1 because I think I'll be sad.
Or didn't do.
Part of me has started to contemplate the just not playing a defence.
Do you know something? I had a similar thought in the last week. I started to wonder whether it would actually be a detriment to not play a defence. Because obviously, a defence is the highest probability of minus points. Of all of the positions, next on the list would be your kickers. And then I think probably you're looking like running back, quarterbacks, or positions like that. But defence, time and again, is where you're going to end up with like minus points, which is going to obviously affect your overall score. How many times in a fantasy week have you been in a situation where you've been like, oh, I should have had this, but because of my effing defence, I've got less. Anyway, fantasy football aside, let's talk actual, real life, salt of the earth, American football. It's week 2. I've already given Paul my picks for him to laugh at, wholeheartedly laugh at. I've got them loaded up nicely in the pick'ems. Each week, ladies and gentlemen, is a situation where we get our fantasy opponents. I don't know what this is doing. Oh, so close. Yeah, nice one. Cheers for that. We get our fantasy opponents to come on and to offer up as the guest their picks for the upcoming games. They go up against myself and Paul and see who comes out. So the guest has a combined. So in the case of last week where there was 2 guest predictions, if one of those 2 people had won, then the guest gets a point. Otherwise, as in actual fact, Paul won the week, he gets the point. Over the course of the season, myself and Paul are going up against the guest to see if we can win or if the combined guest can take it. I believe last year, both myself and Paul were absolutely dominated by the stats mistress, both in fantasy football and in the bedroom. So, let's look at what I've got, but more importantly, Paul, Rob's got some picks for us.
So, we begin the week in Washington with the football team. The New York Giants are travelling over to Maryland to have a little game of football. Rob, who are you picking to get the win?
I'm going to pick the Giants this week.
Going with the G-Men.
I think Sterling Shepard's going to have a stormer.
He had a good game, didn't he?
Rob definitely agrees with Mr. Cook. I, myself, personally have gone with the Washington football team to get things done at home. Obviously didn't work for them this last Sunday, but they were up against a tougher opposition. So, were they playing? The Chargers? Yeah, you can't legislate for playing against the Chargers, can you? So next up, we have the Houston Texans travelling to Cleveland to take on the Browns.
Browns, home win.
Yep, you and me are on the same wavelength there. Whereas Andy has has obviously got the Texans to go 17-0 this season, apparently.
They can do it.
You're just thinking that Tyrod's the man, yeah?
So, me and the stats ministers were having this conversation because it came up on Red Zone, or it came by the commentary in the game. It was Tyrod or Tyrod, whichever you prefer. So then me and Leanne just started firing out different versions of Tyrod, Tyrod, Tyrid. But yeah, I think Tyrod's gonna get it done.
Next up, we have the New England Patriots travelling to New York to take on the Jets.
As much as I don't like to say it, New England, the Patriots will get that. Jets.
It's a clean Patriot pat sweep, unfortunately, for all you New York fans out there. Yeah, all three of us have gone for Big Mac to get his first big bite. So, no surprises there. Next up, we have the Denver Broncos travelling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars.
Broncos.
It's another clean sweep, ladies and gentlemen. We've all gone for Denver to carry on their winning ways. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills travelling to Miami to take on the Dolphins.
I wasn't sure on this one, but I've just got a funny feeling the Bills might sneak it. Even
Yeah,
though Miami had a good start, yeah.
It's the third clean sweep in a row. I think last week was a bit of an anomaly for me. I think on another day the Bills would have had too much for the Steelers there, but yeah, I think the Bills will come through in that one. Next up, we've got the San Francisco 49ers travelling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles.
49ers.
Again, it's another clean sweep, but given how badly they ended the game against Detroit, I wouldn't be surprised if that game's closer than people think. But again, we have all gone for the 49ers. Next up, we've got the LA Rams travelling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts.
Indianapolis.
Ooh, got a difference of opinion there. Yeah, me and Andy have both gone for the Rams to continue their good start, whereas Mr. Rafton has picked the Colts. Next up, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Steelers.
We're back to the clean sweeps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the Raiders are going to travel very well for some reason this season. So, next up, we've got the Bengals at Chicago to travel to take on the Bears.
Bengals.
You and Andy are in agreement there. I think the Bears might bounce back.
Was it the Bears game that they basically didn't show on Red Zone this week? Where they were just like, at one point they were like, yeah, we haven't really been to this game because nothing has happened. And then they just went away from it and basically never went back.
The Bears played the Rams on Sunday Night Football. There was one game where very little happened. It was the Broncos. They didn't go to the Broncos Giants for basically the entirety of the first quarter because nothing happened.
I just remember at some point somebody was like, we haven't been to this game because nothing's happened.
Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints travelling to Carolina to face the Panthers.
I think the Panthers might sneak this one.
Ooh,
that's probably against what you guys are probably thinking, but I think McCaffrey.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has another big game. I mean, they brought up his stats the other day. Like, I think it was something ridiculous. Like, he had nearly 100 yards, both receiving and rushing again. Because again, he's just a ridiculous human being.
There was a point in that game where they brought up his stats versus other teams, and he had more yards than other teams at one point.
That happened in the football on Sunday. They showed up a stat when it was Liverpool versus Leeds. In total in the game, Leeds had 9 shots. Not on target, just shots in the game. Sadio Mane had 10. So he had more chances than an entire team.
Same amount as Borough had last season.
That is outrageous. Next up, we have everyone's favourite team and everyone's favourite quarterback, the Minnesota Vikings, travelling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Yeah, buddy. That's the... I know you can't really say that anything's a banker in the NFL, but that would be... If I had to put a large sum of cash on a game that I felt that the result was absolutely nailed on, it would be that one. But that's just me, and obviously I say that because I despise Kirk Cousins. So
Really?
any chance to just badmouth him is perfectly all right with me. And let's be honest, if he's not happy with it, he can go cry in his little Perspex box, can't he? So. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Don't like to say it, but Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, can I have that money back from the Cardinals win and put it on the Bucs, please? Because I think that's even safer. Surprise, surprise, we've all gone for the Bucs. Just the last 4 to go through now. So we have the Tennessee Titans at the Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks all the way.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise, we've all gone for that as well. The Dallas Cowboys at the LA Chargers.
I'm going to go Cowboys.
You're not alone there, Rob. We've actually all gone for the Cowboys on that one, which surprised me somewhat. Mainly for myself, because I just like Justin Herbert. So I don't know why I haven't picked him.
Justin Herbert. I struggled with this one. I'm sure we can guess why. But as you said, I also went with the Cowboys. It was a difficult choice for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sneaky pick for game of the week that could be for me, actually. Bit of a shootout. Last two. Probably the game of the week on paper. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens.
Kansas. I backed them for the season, so yeah.
Again, we've all picked the Chiefs. I think it'll be close, though. Obviously, back-to-back AFC North games for Kansas. They struggled at home against the Browns until the fourth quarter, so will we see something similar when they go up to Baltimore to take on the Ravens? Who knows? And last but not least, the Monday Night Football from next week will be the Detroit Lions at the raggy as fuck Green Bay Packers.
Packers, they're back home at Lambeau. If only it could snow, yeah. But maybe not.
Can anyone else spell double-digit win?
See,
I think the Lions could be on for a bit of a hiding in that one, to be honest with you.
I actually struggled with this pick. This was
No, you
one
did not.
that I looked at and I thought, is it going to send even more of a statement if he tanks this game, home field and all that? That's if you believe the conspiracies, obviously.
That, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of the Week 2 predictions picks.
I mean, it's practically the Super Bowl already. That's how fast it's going. I mean, what is this all about?
You don't look at it as 1 week gone, do you? You look at it as 1 week less or something like that.
Yeah, I'm already like, I can feel my heart going like, oh my god, the season's nearly over. It's such a happy and sad time. It's like a weird sandwich where one slice of bread's happiness and one slice of bread's sadness, And in the middle is red zone, and you just push it together like that. Nom, 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 nom.
I believe, as the saying goes, the season doesn't even start until Thanksgiving, so don't worry. And there'll be that point in the season where, on Red Zone, Scott Hanses ruins everyone's week by telling us that the exact point where they'll have played more than half of the games of the season. So they'll be like, yeah, it's all downhill from here, lads.
Yeah.
He's practicing that line right now at home.
In the
Front
mirror. Yeah. Like.
So there you go. That's another week. Done and dusted. Tied up with a nice pretty little bow on top.
Going too fast.
Perfect.
So, all that's left here is to ask if anybody's got any other business. See, this would have been the point in time to do the Arizona Cardinals thing, or the Bengals thing, or the Panthers thing. Speaking of Panthers, if anybody didn't see it, like Rob, I've whilst we've been sat here showing him the mixed reality thing, I'll certainly be looking out for those in the future. I do wonder if, because I mean, like you were saying, that's probably blown up quite a bit. So I do wonder if any teams at this point are scrambling to get something similar going. Who knows? But yeah, I'll certainly be looking out for more of that. If there's nothing else, just leaves me to say good luck to you for the week.
And good luck to you, sir.
And good luck to all of the fantasy football players out there who will be enjoying Sunday beers, barbecue, and I wanted something else that had like a B. Ball games. Ball games. Thanks for our in-studio podcast guest. Thank you to Paul for helping me, as always, to get through the difficult task of letting everybody know what's going on in the NFL season, all the way over the other side of the pond. So that's it for this week. We will catch you guys later. Thank you all very much. And goodbye.
So there we go. What do you think to that? Big thank you to Rob for making the trip over and being our in-studio guest. Big thank you to Paul for helping me get you guys through this week's NFL podcast. If you're checking us out on YouTube or SoundCloud or iTunes, if you could subscribe, that would be amazing. You can also jump over to our website, thecookiecast.com. We've got social media links there, and there's even a button where you can drop us an email. Let us know how you're getting on. Tell us what picks you've got for the week. So there we go. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye!